Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to iRadio Special Program, a program that brings to you about youth matters, art and culture, entertainment, and social issues. My name is Yara Jack, and on today's program, we bring to you a young lady and author that has written a very interesting book by the title, What a Godly Privilege to Be a Man. Interesting, right? You want to know who is this author and what is she about to tell us. And at this point, I want to welcome my guest, Tabitha Biel Luak.
Ooh,
Was that
was
did
really
I get
good.
your name?
Yes, you did. You
Oh,
did get it
welcome.
right.
How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me
Welcome
today.
on board to iRadio.
Thank you so much.
So before we even go into the book, I'll love you to introduce yourself. Tell us more about you, what you do as Tabitha, so that people familiarize themselves with you.
Right.
Yeah.
I am a bit of few things, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I am a mother of two
nice.
beautiful girls.
Wow.
I am a student. I'm also an artist. I sing gospel songs. They're both in English and in Noor.
Okay.
I also use music to speak about social issues. And now I am an author. So
Before we even go into author, here we talk about music also. Could you sample something about music, gospelish? Just one line or something.
I would just say that God is great. God is love. God is
Nice.
everything. So yeah.
I would have loved if you brought it from the lungs, but anyway, that's okay.
God is great. God is love. God is everything. So-
Absolutely. God is great. God is everything.
Yes.
So Tabitha, when did you start writing? Before we go into this, when did you started your journey of writing?
I think I think all of us at some point when we are sent to go to school, that's kind of just the beginning of that journey of writing.
Yeah.
For some of us it's different, but we're all kind of involved in some sort of writings, one way or another. Whether that you're writing an essay or whatever, a project, whatever the case might be. So for me, I think that journey of writing began really when I was in my hometown, and that is Akoba. So I think I would say I've been writing ever since. It's just for different reasons, different purposes. So yeah.
Okay. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Now for different things, because writing is just that whole thing. So, but then when we write for different things. So if I were to write for school project for whatever, it would be just a request that we have to do this specific things and all of that. But if it's my personal writings, oftentimes it's just about writing stories that I would like people to hear,
To get
maybe one day.
inspired.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go into this book. And those that are watching, this is the book. What a privilege, what a godly privilege to be born a man. Before I even go into the details of the book, why the name?
You see that I'm giggling because if there's anything that has ever been exhausted so well, is why the title is the way
exactly,
it is. So
like why? And for me, I actually picked two words from here: godly privilege, and the last word, a man. Tell
So,
me about that.
all of those words kind of come together when you
Yeah.
look at it
Yeah.
from a perspective of ours. Maybe not all of us, but in my own case, I thought that the way in which being man is used in our society is something that is not for what it was purposefully meant for by God.
Yeah.
So to be a man is not a privilege. So let me clear that up. I don't think it's a privilege.
Okay.
It's just that all of us have been created in the same way that we've been given responsibilities to take on. So let's say an example would be a man being a provider. So that's what we've been told, that if you're a man, you're a provider, right?
Yeah.
So this title will not work if it's not for our own cultures. And I know that in our cultures, they're a little bit different, you know. If you were to look at the Shuluk culture, it's a little bit different than the Noor.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes we're just like, oh, I don't have that because in our culture we don't feel that or we don't do that, right? But at the end of the day, there's things that are done kind of in the same way in our cultures as far as South Sudan. And so if this were to be in a different culture, that will not work because then that culture might have a different perspective of what it means to be a man. But specifically why the title is the way it is because being a man is used by our men to kind of take advantage of women.
Okay. By our men, you mean the South Sudanese
The
men?
South Sudanese cultures taught our men to not look at being a man as a responsibility, but using that beings as a way to get away with things.
Okay, let's get into this. Tell us about how the men are actually using, and this is according to your observation, and I think these are some of the things you highlighted in the book.
Yes.
So what are some of these practices that you've seen the men have taken as a privilege which they should have not taken in our society?
Absolutely. When you get a chance to kind of look inside the book, you realize the title actually comes from inside the book. But not only that, you will also come to realize that the things that the books is talking about are the things that are happening. So things like rape, things like forced marriage, things like child marriage, things like what happens when a man is divorced from, or when a woman is divorced from a man, and how is that treated in our society? We can say that, well, we're married to each other, but our behavior does not tell us that, because when we behave, it seems as though you as a woman is married to the man, but the man is not married to you. But not only that, when it comes to who takes what at the end of the day. So let's say there is a divorce at the end of the day. Who takes what? In my own culture, the man takes the child, right? So we automatically say that this belongs to him.
So
at
it's
what
a privilege
point?
For the man.
Exactly. So that has gone as far as using it to say that because I'm a man, I have the privilege to have things that were brought in the union with me when there is something goes wrong, right? I'm going to take that with me. Children belongs to men, properties belongs to men. We have nothing as far as our cultures. We just being pushed off, you know, whatever we are, the ladder, whatever, and then we are into the society, and society judges us now because we're nothing. We are valueless. We are nothing. And so that's just one scenario, right? So let's talk about marriage itself. And let's say the first one. The reason we ever come to the point of forcing someone is because someone else has, you know, has the ability to say, I like that and I'm going to take it. I have the ability to buy it, so I can take it. Now we have men, as far as our concerned, our cultures, men that in a way they think, they don't reflect the way you think. You see, you are a beautiful young woman. Now a 50, a 70 years old man, full of wrinkles, whatever, and he has the ability to say that because he has the ability to give in return what your father will ask, take you. So you have no voice, that is lost, but not only that, the voice of the father is also lost. So that's something that we don't think about.
All right. I mean, those are a lot of issues to look into, from child marriage. These are the main things we are facing in South Sudan. Child and forced marriage. We are talking about GPV. You talk about rape.
Right.
Those are so many other things. Okay, now let's look into this. For you to sit down, how are you getting your ideas together? Is it from experience? Based on where you lived, you talk about your culture, where you come from, okay? So definitely your culture played a big role into what you put down here. And also the observation, you talk about your friends, the girlfriends, the boyfriends you have in your life, the women, the elderly and the younger people. So how did these people actually impact into this?
There's so many ways, not just two, but there's many ways to, when we come to realization that something else is going on. We can look at it from observing the environment. And we have a choice to say, well, although you might not be the one experiencing that particular experience, you can say, this is not right, and maybe I'm going to interpret it and say, this is what it's meant. We could also come to that point of talking about something as a result of having gone through it.
Yeah.
So I would pretty much say that this is both for me. I have observed and also have gone through issues, such as things that I've talked about. So.
All right. So let me go into the book. We have a number of pages. Let me see how many in total. We have over 250 pages. Out of all these pages, which particular chapter got you like, this is me speaking from my heart?
So,
or any line in the book, it doesn't have to be a chapter, but what really struck you for you, because you say what a godly privilege is also a line in the book. So
right.
Which particular line or chapter or page that really got and say, this is Tabitha speaking on behalf of many other women in South Sudan?
Right. So the book is about 292 pages.
Okay.
We kind of divide it into two. So there's a prologue part of it. And I would say the part that I think if I ever interpret something or defined it in the way that I see it based on the behavior is on the prologue. So the first part of the book, and it's also written in the past tense, as you will realize when you read it. And this is where we also find the title. So let me just elaborate a little bit on that area. It actually comes from one of the women, a woman who goes by the name of Young Lady. In the prologue, we have been there's three types of women that are introduced. So you'll go and read those.
Yeah, definitely.
But one of the women is the young lady. And the young lady is one of the common women who struggles on day-to-day life.
Yeah.
She's a divorced woman. Her children had been taken from her. She's now in the society that judges her and says, she's not worthy. Society says you're not worthy because you've given birth. But then they make no records and no notes of the one who would take the children. If by any chance we would say that someone is any no value, it would be the person who had taken the children, if that's the case. But that's not the way it is, because again, we're coming back to how do we control women so then they remain under our shoes and never realize the potential, never realize that we've been abusing them. And so at a point where she was talking or saying exactly those words that appear at the title, she was looking at another woman. And that woman is a stepmother of another child. But she also knows something about that woman and the fact that this child that is walking with this stepmother has been enslaved by the stepmother. Something that is very typical in our culture, because the moment you said, I cannot live this life, you are asked to leave, but the children are taken. But then a father doesn't sit and say, well, because the mother is no longer in my life, I'm going to sit down, raise my own children, right? They go and then find some other mother to raise these children up. And as far as our culture and the way it taught as women, you begin to feel as though the child that has been given to you to take care of because the mother is no longer in the picture, you begin to see that child as your co-wife. And this is where we mistreat the children. Right. Because they represent the mothers in our life. And they become so abusive. But the way in which our men would see it is to see normals in that. because he's always in his head thinking that I'm punishing the one who is already gone. But the one who is being enslaved is the child. So the children become victims in our society. And then she said,
what a godly
what a godly privilege to be born a man.
The rest, the people will read it. I'm already,
Yes.
this is like quite interesting, and I think a lot of people will relate to it, and especially women coming from this, and
I
even
hope
the
so.
men,
I
even
hope so.
the men of South Sudan, because also they're the main people that are being told these messages. And so now, Tabitha, you talk about many other issues, key issues that are being raised in this book. For you, what do you think is the way forward for such things, especially with gender-based violence? We are talking about forced marriages. We are talking about women being ripped of their children because they can't simply stay in this marriage. They are forced to stay without their children at the end of the day. So in your take, what do you think can be done in our society? Because a lot of people have come out, activists, women, spoken over and over again, but it seems like there is no change. So in your take, what do you think can be done?
First of all, I like to say thank you to those individuals who waved a storm and just come out and say that this is wrong. No matter who is this things is being done to, we have to say that it is wrong. At the end of the day, once it happened to one woman, believe it is going to find you.
Somewhere.
You, as a woman,
Yeah.
will also deal with that,
Right.
one way or another.
True.
So don't celebrate when another woman is suffering. Do not do that. So I like to say thank you to those women. So as far as how to go about it, I think the steps have already been taken. The awareness. One of the issues in our cultures, and maybe not all of our cultures in Junub, but one of the problems is the lack of communication. Now, when we've been given this table to talk about things, not only that we can bring different issues to the table and maybe provide different solutions to the problems, we begin to also learn from those things, because those might not be the things we deal with in our daily life.
Right.
So the moment we expose ourselves to talking about the issues, we begin to realize that perhaps there are even things we don't know, that if we know them, we can then deal with them better. But a huge part of that would comes from accepting the fact that there are things in our cultures, there are traditions that do not serve us well. Now we can look at the fact that, who is suffering at the end of the day? So we can always say, well, because it is the woman who's suffering, why should we care? And I think that's one of the key point for our men to kind of draw a line to say, I'm not going to be involved because at the end of the day, I'm not the one suffering.
Yeah.
But look at it. So many women stay in abused relationship because of the children. They see that once they're left, the children become victims.
Yeah.
So they rather become victims themselves than to see the children suffering in the future. So the thing is to sit down and talk about the thing we think, even if our men do not think these are big issues and that there are, we're suffering. Let's talk about them. So when we begin to talk about the issues, we'll say, this is how it hurt us. Okay?
Yeah.
This is how it hurt us. And if it hurt us, someone will think about it and reduce that hurt. But if we always look at it from, I am a man and therefore I have the right to say no and be ignorant, and then we can't get anywhere. But I do believe that if in this country we ever come to a point of making anything, like adjusting things, making laws against things that are happening, it will also involve our men. They are not going to be part away from it. We're not going to do anything without them. Okay? We're not going to do anything without them. They will have to be part of the solution. So let's get involved, talk about the issues, allows us to talk about the issues, see how they hurt us, from our perspective. Because in the end, you're not the one being hurt, so you're not going to know. Unless if you put yourself in my shoes. But if you run away from it, you're not going to know. So you're not a man because you're being mean. You've been taught the wrong way. That's not being a man.
Right.
Being a man is humble and taking responsibility. But if you switch it around, then we'll never reach that line. So.
Okay. I think the men have heard, even those who are here. Otherwise, anyway, I think there's so much in this book, and whoever wants to read it will definitely have to go through it. So tell us, where can they find the books and where can they purchase from?
Right. So we just did the launching on Saturday. Yes, that was amazing. And we had a lot of people coming in, and then they had the copies too. And we still have, however, some copies left. And I'll be leaving very soon. But the copies are going to still be here. But you might have to do it sooner if you want one.
And for those that are outside South Sudan?
So for those that are outside South Sudan, the book is already available on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
So if there's a way you can order yours from Amazon, you can, exactly, you can order from it. Yeah,
that's good. And within South Sudan, they just have to contact you, or they can find it in a shop, or where can they get it?
So there will be a few copies in, I think, we have some bookstores, things like that. I don't know if there are going to be many though, because a lot of people are requesting the message. I don't know but you can reach out to me and ask how you can get one.
Okay.
So,
all right, no problem. I think people will be able to. For those who have not seen it, I hope it's very clear right there what a godly privilege to be born a South Sudanese man.
Yeah, that's better.
I mean, that's it. She's speaking to the South Sudanese, the men of South Sudan. This is, you should get it, by the way. And there's so much, and we can talk over and over. But anyway, they will get the rest in the book. We don't want to give them all the information. So last words for people, the girls of South Sudan, the women of South Sudan, and the men of South Sudan in general.
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that for all the women in South Sudan who are suffering, who are going through tough times, who are going through abuse, and nobody is relating to them, I would like to say, we feel your pain. We know what you're going through, and you're not alone. But if you ever feel like this is not something you should go through, and then it's your own right to actually speak up and say this is wrong. You are a human being. We're all created in the image of God. The whole thing has been just twisted. We don't know how and why, but it is what it is. So you don't have to go through that because you don't deserve it. We have to demand our rights. We have to say that this is not good. It doesn't serve us. But at the same time, our men too deserve their rights, respect and all of that. It's just so hard though. With the need to be here and someone else has to be here, we can never come to a balance. Because it's always been like, I have to be on the top. No, I'm not refusing you to be on the top. I just think that being on the top is a responsibility. That's all. So for you deserve much more. To the girls in South Sudan, well, some of us, I know when I was a girl, it's really, really nice when someone says, well, you know what, I promise you this. And you begin to kind of buy into that promise of someone else. And then when you get into it, you realize, this is so different. Learn from those who have gone before you. There's so much that you don't need to go through. Take your time. Get to know people. Relationship or marriage, for that matter, is a life decision. It's not something you can take easily and just go around it because it's going to come back to you and haunt you. So you don't need that. Some of us have kids who then end up fatherless with men that are alive. We don't need that. If we've gone through it, you don't need to go through it. So change that. See what is better. Start demanding our men that they have to be what they say they are, not what they do. If someone behaves differently and says something else, believe them. They are what they do, not what they say. And to our gentlemen, guys, we appreciate you a lot. And if we were to do a statistics as far as women, the good women in the world, I think we would own the top because we serve you well. But it seems as though the pursuit for you is to be on the top. But we're human beings. We can't always be pulled up when we are being kind of crushed on the ground. We can't do it at the same time. So we know that being a man, there's a lot of things that are happening around you, telling you that to be one, you have to be this and this and that. But you don't need to be that because you are a man biologically, and that's who we know, and that's who you are. Nothing will change that. We'll never be men. We'll always be your wives, but we deserve respect and good treatment from you. This fight is not going to end if you don't come and join us. We don't deserve it. Become a better person, because once you become a better person, you become a better husband. You become a better father. And guess what? Who benefits? The nation. A nation that is both you and myself. You can never be anybody else but the two of us. So you need us just as much as we need you. So that's all I can say.
Wow, I think I would not even have any much conclusions on this because you have spoken and you've said it all. To the women, to the girls, and to the men of South Sudan, we are all privileged to be born in South Sudanese. We should not say, what a godly. I think that is the next message you should be preaching. We are all godly South Sudanese. Okay, and nobody is considered. And I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to be with us. And I'm looking forward to reading this book. What a godly privilege to be born a man. And I think the next time will be what a godly privilege to be born a woman.
This title will remain the way it is. We can come back to that, but different things can be.
Definitely. All the best. And thank you so much for taking your time to be here.
Thank you.
And whoever wants the book, this is the book. Once again, you can get it on Amazon. You can also get it here in Juba. You can contact Tabitha, all her social media, right? It's Tabitha Biel.
Tabitha Biel, yeah.
Yeah, Tabitha Biel. You can contact her directly on Messenger, on WhatsApp, or on Twitter, any social media platform, and get to talk to her. If you need more information about the book, you can definitely get that. Otherwise, do have a great time. This is the iRadio special program with me, Yara Jack. Till next time, adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye.